But I hope you got to know someone a little bit better and make an effort to reach out to them and maybe have coffee and get to know them a little bit more, because I'm sure even in our intimate group, there's some opportunities for us to collaborate with one another, learn more about each other's businesses, and see how we can operate and do some things together. Collaboration is so much more fun than competition. So that's one of the things that I'm always happy to do, to learn more about people's businesses and how we can connect and collaborate. I love learning, and if you're a small business owner, I think you are of a similar mindset. It's always an opportunity to learn more about someone, because there's something that we can always do together, and together is so much more fun than alone. So now, today, our speaker is Stephanie Weaver, and Stephanie and I actually met during a networking event, believe it or not. We were at a BNI event, and we were both visiting at the time, and we struck up a conversation. We were talking about podcasts, and I had no idea that she was an artist and doing things, in my opinion, out of the box thinking for a creative entrepreneur. So I invited Stephanie to be a part of our speaker rotation this year, and I'm excited to talk to her and learn more about what she does and how she is making contributions to the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So Stephanie, if you want to come up and join me, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation, and we'll have an open conversation. Since, again, we're an intimate group. So let's start there. You have a podcast. I was on it once, and it was very fun, learning a lot of different things.
So I started a podcast and art business membership community. And so the art business membership, it focuses primarily on taking artists and helping them develop their business. Because if you ever met an artist that went to art school, they learned how to become an artist. They didn't learn how to become a business person. So when they get out of art school, they have absolutely no idea about accounting, about contracts, and there is contracts, there's all this stuff as a solopreneur, because if you want to license your art, you have to understand the contracts and, you know, whether you're going to get hosed in a contract deal or not, and know what to do about that. You also need a website, and all these components that I actually learned, because I have an MBA with concentration in management and information systems, and another master's in project management, and my background is all business. And I started art because I needed a creative outlet from the business side, because it was, you know, you go to those meetings and sit there in a room, and they would talk about, is it optionally required or is it conditional? And you would literally change that one little phrase between meetings, and it's just like, something else that's mine. So I started painting, and a lot of the people that are coming to art as a second career are professionals who were in the IT industry, were lawyers, doctors, whatever. The average age of an artist, according to Labor Bureau statistics, is actually 44.
Wow.
So it's, but when you make that transition, you need support. And that's where the Art Business Membership Program and the Artist Soar podcast comes into play.
Okay. So are you, when you have your podcast, who is your audience that you're looking to get on the podcast specifically?
It's a new and, you know, artists that we want to move forward. You know, because there's so much that you don't know until you don't know it. You know, I don't know what I don't know. So, you know, be around people who know or have been there doing that.
So you're creating a professional community for artists and helping them make that transition into, yes, you are an artist, you got great work, but you are also a business owner. This is a business, to turn it into something that's viable that they can do. So is that unique? I mean, I've never heard of anybody doing that, and obviously it's working for you. But is this something that you modeled after? It's something else that you saw that you modeled? Or it's like, okay, the two halves of what I'm doing, I'm going to bring them together because nobody else is doing it.
So when I first kind of transitioned into this, I became the president of the Huntsville Art League. And that's when I started seeing, and I would have these conversations about websites. And I would have conversations and I'd bring in people about, like, how to do a video. And it was just little things, but and I started seeing a trend among the artists of not knowing what exactly is needed in a website, not knowing about taxes, and therefore creating, tax evasion. And I'm like,
unintentionally, but
it's
still.
not good. Let's do
Yeah.
it. And so, I saw an opportunity, and I talk a lot about it. And I do have competitors, but we're all very, very different in our approach because I have IT background, and they've had an artist background.
Right.
And what I've noticed between myself and the competitors is I am not like touchy-feely. I am like data-driven. Here's how to install your Google Analytics code. So on your website, you can start tracking your data and then analyze it. So you can start having pop-ups and build your email list. So it's I'm that way.
You're very equal-brained. And not have you left, not have you right, but you can function well. You have that creative side of you and do well with that art, but you also have that analytical side where you can get the business done and separate the feelings and emotions from, this is what I gotta do. This is how to get it done.
Well, I was talking with Todd earlier about I'm noticing a common thread among the women, and I do have mostly women in my community, but I've noticed a common thread among the women that they're not necessarily getting support for this creative business from their home. And we had a lady actually break down on our call yesterday, and it's hard to build a life around something that's so undefined.
Right.
And even when you go to art school, there's no defined way. Like there's surface pattern designers, which I looked at the gentleman's shirt back there. Your pants. All of these are designs created by artists, and that's called surface pattern design. How do you get into that? There's no school on that. And so there's a lot of necessary support, but as I was talking about Todd, one of the things I want to see in my community, because I am not touchy-feely, is I'd like to bring in an art therapist, a certified art therapist to talk with women about what they need, to have that. I recognize that I am not touchy-feely. The manifestation stuff, I believe that to be true, but from my perspective, it's goals.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, but I just say it differently. It's a little bit challenging.
So that's fun. So I noticed you built kind of a membership community, and that's something that a lot of people are doing nowadays. I've seen a lot of people across a wide array of industries are doing membership-based things. And you've done that with the art world. How has that been for you, and what kind of challenges have you experienced with doing that?
Oh, wow. Okay. So, challenge. Let's talk about challenge. The challenge is there is so much noise. All you guys are marketers. There's so much noise going on in social media. You got to pay to play. And being an artist, solopreneur, you guys get this. The budgets are fairly limited. Time is fairly limited.
Right.
So that's a challenge. But one of the things I'm kind of working with, there's organizations like, Fiverr.
Right.
What is it?
Upworks.
Yes. And there's another one that I use, and so you can get good labor.
Right.
Relatively inexpensive. But that's been a huge challenge. What was the first part of your question? I stuck on the challenge, but what was the first part?
Just having a membership-based organization and doing that, pulling that together. How difficult was that, and how did you create the map for this, or did you have a roadmap that you were using, or are you just, all right, we're gonna try, we're gonna iterate and see how it goes as we're going along?
That one. So I pretty much, it was in 2019 that the idea kind of hit me. And then in about 2020, January 2020, I decided this is something I want to do. I want to build a community that supported each other, and it was more focused on the community aspect at that point, because it was, people needed other people to talk to.
Right.
Our husbands are great, but God bless them, they don't understand what it's like to be a solopreneur, or like my husband works for the U.S. and Russia space program. And so I'm talking about SEO, and he's, I'm rattling all these acronyms, and it's like talking, do you understand all the acronyms I'm talking about? No.
Right.
So you needed people to talk to. So when I started it, I actually started on WordPress, and I quickly found that all of the plugins that I was adding, like WooCommerce, LearnDash, BuddyPress, all these things were really weighing it down. So then I added a virtual private server, and I only had like 10 people at that time, so it wasn't like it was getting counted. And then and I had a lady managing my server, so I didn't have to worry about the plugins and all this stuff. And then one day, one of my plugins had malware on it, and so anything that was getting found on the first page of Google search was getting rerouted to garbage. So I was making discovery virtually impossible. So crying out loud. And we thought we fixed it like 3 times. And then like finally the 3rd time I said, okay. And then I went out and bought Kajabi. Kajabi is basically,
it's kind of an all-in-one kind of deal with websites and emails and all kinds of, a lot of different things. It's kind of a catch-all kind of thing. So a lot of people who have membership-based programs are using Kajabi.
I love Kajabi. It was the best decision I ever made. So I got Kajabi. I had that website up and running within 2 weeks, working like 20-hour days, sweet tea and salads is what I lived on. And it was really good. But I nerd out on that stuff. I love building websites, and you'll see that I'm still continuing to use that type of thing. So it's evolved. It didn't start out the way it was. It's got, my community has multiple packages where you can learn how to oil paint. I teach oil painting classes via Zoom, and then there's also online video-based ones, so they're self-guided. And then there's an intro to oil painting, so stick your toe in. Is this something that I like? So we get a bunch of those classes, and then there's the art business side. Because just because you decide to move forward with creative aspect doesn't necessarily mean that you need to monetize it. So those who want to monetize it, they come to the business side.
Right. Yeah. And that's a scary thing. I consider myself creative, but digitally. I'm great digital creating, but I am highly intimidated about picking up a paintbrush. I draw stick figures, but I like the opportunity that you have in teaching people how to do that, because we all need some type of outlet to do something, and you found your outlet in painting and found that it was something that could be pretty lucrative, and you brought both sides of what you do together. So that's one thing I wanted to ask you about, your business background. How intimidating was it for you to have that business background and say, all right, I'm going to be an artist?
Yeah, that switching that mindset to becoming, a business person,
right,
to an artist is a long one. Because when you get into the art world, one of the things that you're taught is to go look at somebody else's art. So immediately there's imposter syndrome, because you've been in this other area of your life for 15 years. Like I was in IBM, UPS, and ADP for 15 years. That's where my identity was. And so when I would introduce myself, I'm an oil painter. I do custom oil cut portraits. Just very long. And then, but I would immediately go. But I used to be a program manager for ADP, and I managed teams. And so it switched. That identity shift was something that takes time.
Right.
But because not everybody, society has a negative connotation with artists. And so when you say that you're an artist, you immediately think, oh, so you're a slacker.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it in the real world. So you're trying to do this and trying to make.
You're one of those artsy people.
Yes, you're undependable. You're all these things that is so negative, and I found it's not true.
Right.
Yeah. And it's just, artists really have a different way of thinking. And like Einstein, he's actually an artist. He had a very different way of thinking and seeing formulas. And having that creative mind allowed him to do these things. And I forgot your original question. I'm just going to go
that is quite all right.
So,
That is quite all right.
the podcast is with two other ladies, so it's just not me talking. We talk about other things. It's a lot of fun.
And what I've noticed is a lot of things that, you said you feel imposter syndrome and, just getting the intimidation factor of just getting into what you're doing. It's so similar to everybody else that's in small business and entrepreneurship. We all feel the imposter syndrome. And I think if somebody tells me they've never felt imposter syndrome, oh, well, you lying.
Where's the definition?
Right.
Tell me now.
Right. But it's so cool. We all feel that. And being able to say that and acknowledge it, I think that makes it a little bit more palatable. We can say that among friends, and even no matter what industry we're in. I'm in marketing, business, you've been in business, you're an artist, we both feel that same thing. So there are so many similarities, and that's one of the things I really wanted to highlight, in that, yes, you are an artist, and you are a professional artist, and yes, I and lots of people in our audience are business owners, but we're still the same.
Oh, yeah.
We're still business owners. I'm selling my craft in marketing. You're selling your craft as an artist. But we're all working on selling our craft and figuring out what message works the best in communicating to the people we most want to work with. And so, I wanted to really bring that out that, and because people have that negative connotation about artists, and, I think it's misplaced because everybody can't be a great artist. There's some real talent that goes into that. And another thing I wanted to ask you about, and just kind of hit me right now, but how art makes you feel when you are around art. If you have art in your place of work, in where you're working at home, in your surroundings, what does that do for you, for a person emotionally, and how can you as an artist educate those of us who may have a brick and mortar place of business, and how and why we should incorporate art into our atmosphere that we create for ourselves professionally?
Wow, I love that question. Okay. So there's two ways to look at art. One is that can match your couch, and that's and the other way is does it speak to me? And when you have artwork that speaks to you, displayed in your home and displayed at your place of work, that's a visual representation of you. And so it's more intriguing, I think, than just going to the hotel and seeing the hotel art. That's not interesting. It's not engaging. I am surrounded by art in my studio, and I have one particular piece that I haven't a big prints of, but the original I haven't made for sale. And the reason is it's specific to me. And whenever I get stressed out, I'll just, and when you get stressed out, I'll lean back in my chair and I'll just look at it. And I'm like, all right, I got this. Because it's an owl with a moon, and I dreamt about the owl. And he was coming, if you've ever studied about owls, their heads rotate almost 360 degrees. They've got a cavern inside that allows that to happen. So they see everything and they're silent. When they come down and capture that prey, they're coming down at I think it was 300 pounds per inch. Something like that. So they're coming down with velocity and ferociousness. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah, we'll go with
Yeah, but they're intense. And so I've got this owl with his wings spread, the feathers are flying off of him. And that's how, when I get stressed out, I'm like, okay, I have to keep moving forward, I have to be fierce. I don't, and attack it. Because nobody else is going to do what I can do. And, we're all different. Same thing with our art. In the art that we pick, it's all different, and every artist is different and can speak to somebody So when you go to those, art fairs, what doesn't speak to you is going to speak to somebody else. And that's why even in the community and the oil painters that I teach, I'm not there to judge their art. I'm there to help them find the right audience for their art and find the right way to speak about their art. Because when they speak about it and tell those stories, that's relatable.
Yeah. And that's one of my pet peeves. Well, one of the things that I like to really focus on is telling that story.
Yes.
Whatever it is, if you can tell your story, someone is going to make a heart-to-heart connection with you because they can relate to your story.
Yeah.
And that deepens that relationship. And if art is a manifestation of that, that makes that relationship that much more special. And maybe when people, if you have that art hanging in your office place, when people come in, maybe it helps create the emotion you want people to feel when they're thinking about you and your business, and that I want people to feel calm and relaxed when they come and encounter, face-to-face marketing. It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We got it. You don't have to take that load off about getting all those things done. And with art, I think that's a great way to communicate. It's a word picture.
I'm in several veterinarian offices, because I actually specialize in custom pet portraits. And there's one office that they grabbed the painting that I did that was pretty dark, like in terms of silhouetted trees, and there's a little girl walking her dog. And that was going to be emotional. So that one, they actually have in the room where they're going to put people's down.
Oh.
So they recognize that they're going off to events.
Right.
It's like, woo! So the art can, good lord. So yeah, that one always makes me emotional, because like, I'm a huge fan of animals. So animals are better than people. But anyway, so yeah, it sets the tone and it can set a story of what you want to portray.
And I think that could probably, and I'm not seeing this picture, but I would feel like that could probably set the owners of that animal at peace and make them feel like, okay, we're helping them get to a better place.
Exactly.
There's, you aren't dealing with the hurt and the pain that you may be enduring right now. And because I love you so much, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great way, and that communicates all of that without having to say that. And art did that in that business.
Yeah.
And it helped the patrons of that business have that emotional release and have that emotional closure, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just because of being able to make that heart-to-heart connection with that piece of art. So I'm a huge fan of having art in our places of business.
On the lighter side, if you think about, like, I know we got a bunch of guys in here. On the lighter side, if you think about like your game room, like my husband has his man cave, and when you walk in there, you can see football crap on the wall. And I say football crap because I don't care. But when you walk into another area of the room, another area of the house, I'll have abstract. I cannot do abstract. I don't have the mindset to do that. I do realistic. And but I love the abstracts in a particular room, because it relaxes you, it opens your mind, and so yeah, art, it doesn't have to be the same in every room, doesn't have to match the walls, doesn't have to match the couch, it has to match you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of medical facilities and doctors' offices have some really, really interesting artwork. That's one of the things. When my kids were little, we go to pediatrician appointments, and so I'm okay, just looking at the art and seeing what's on there, and right, keeping the kids engaged and keeping mom from going crazy and like, how long am I waiting? And all those things. But art is able to do that and communicate a message and take you to a place that maybe you can't go into. Just being in a room like this, stark walls. It doesn't have, there's some art in the lighting here, but having that art, I think, is just so important, and it can be a type of therapy. You mentioned that was a creative outlet from your business world. When did you know that I'm a business and I like this creative outlet. When did that shift start to happen? Like, all right, we're going to let creative outlet lead and business is going to start supporting instead of the other way around.
So when I first started painting, it became my favorite part of every week. And I lived in Atlanta, so it would take an hour and a half just to get home. It would take 45 minutes to get there. Because traffic is horrible.
We have that.
And but I remember like standing there and painting, and I wished this was something. And I actually said it out loud. I wish that I could just find some way to do this forever.
Wow.
And the interesting, there was a lady in the paint class. Her name was Claiborne, and she used to be a VP of marketing for a major toy company. And she left that and went to be a Cabernet singer and artist.
Wow.
And so it was like really cool. And that was the first time I ever met somebody that made a significant transition like that. So that sparked the idea, but it didn't actually happen for like 15 years. And when my husband was deployed to Afghanistan, that's when we decided I needed to stay home. And I was like, okay, cool. And that's when things really kind of started evolving into the art side, because I started painting more pets. People started asking me about that, if I could paint their pet, and sure, because I just needed something to do. I was used to doing all the time. And I just love painting people's pets. I love hearing about their stories of the animals, the rescue stories. I do a lot of military contract working dogs to hear about their caches and the captures. Military working dog Conan, who helped with the capture of Bin Laden. Yeah, these are fascinating stories, and it just really kind of shows how amazing animals are and selfless they are.
Yeah. So one of the things I like to ask people about is mentoring and coaching. Did you have a mentor at any point in this journey? And have you mentored people?
I have mentored people. I would consider my artist friends to be my mentors. I haven't had like a professional mentor or professional coach, something I'm considering, because it's just I haven't had a business coach. I don't necessarily want one. What I want is a marketing coach, because that's the aspect that I'm not good at. But my friends,
I can possibly help you with that.
but my friends that I've made in the art world, that's kind of where all this started. So we started supporting each other. And so in that way, it became mentorship.
Yeah, and I think that's important. That's an aspect that a lot of business owners, and I think no matter what industry we're in, think that we don't need to have that sense of community. And you can draw so much strength and encouragement from having a sense of community. You can have someone to talk to, have someone to talk through things. And sometimes when you're just talking to someone, they aren't saying anything, but you can hear yourself out loud saying it. And it's like, oh, boom, that's what I need to do. But having that opportunity, I think, is really, really important. So even though, you say you haven't had a mentor, a formal mentoring relationship, I think that sense of community that you created has helped that. And I do firmly believe that having someone to hold us accountable and push us toward different things is going to help us grow our businesses. And so I think anyone who is serious about growing their business should be considering a business coach of some kind, because it's hard to take yourself to the next level by yourself. I'm great at marketing. I can help a client to the nth degree, but trying to help myself and teach myself to do the same thing is like, it's like, well, girl, you tell clients this all the time. Why can you not do this?
It's just the same.
Right. And so that aspect of it, I think, is really important. And those of us who are entrepreneurs and business owners, that's something we need to be told from time to time. So I like to ask people that question, because there's no wrong answer to that. It's just where you are on that stage, in that line, and see where you want to be. And 9 times out of 10, unless you're just Superman or Superwoman, you can do it by yourself. But if you're honest,
you need help.
Yeah.
You need to surround yourself with good people, and if you look at any leadership position, they're going to surround themselves with great people to, you know, kind of spitball with, to, you know, push them in a different direction.
Yeah.
You have to have that, especially for solopreneurs.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of things in the creative industry and with artists. What kind of impact do you think you've had on the creative artistry industry?
Well, it's pretty neat because one of the things when I first set out to do all this, it was just more, I wanted to teach people how to work.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was like, if I could be part of the next, you know, Van Gogh or the next Michelangelo's life that helped them get into this, that would change everything. That would make me so happy. And I actually experienced that the weekend before last.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, you know, a lot of people who come to me, they want to learn how to paint pets. And so there was a lady that I taught about 2 years ago, and she went off and started painting pet portraits professionally and everything. And one of the ladies that I met in Providence, she's like, you know so-and-so? And I said, yeah. She said, thank you for teaching her how to oil paint. She painted my pet, and it was really something that she named her pet and everything.
Yeah.
And she said, thank you for doing that. And I look at her portrait every day, and it just brings me joy.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, it happened. It happened. But I don't think you, as business owners, we get that.
Mm-hmm.
And to actually be able to hear that,
Yeah.
that was amazing. But that's one of the ways that I'm trying to impact the world and art. And then I'm also, you know, meeting with you guys to like talk about art so that it's relatable. It's not just something that's, you know, reproduced in China. It actually has when you purchase from an artist in real life, like if you go to their studio down at Low Mill, if you go online and purchase from their website, it does so many things for them. It's one, it brightens their day. Two, if you buy it at a gallery, the gallery's going to take 50%. So you're helping them directly when you buy it from them directly, which is why I'm teaching them how to build their own website and how to build their own marketing platforms, so they can benefit from their work. I read an Art Basel report, or Basel, I'm not sure which one, but there's like $69.1 billion made in art world every year.
Wow.
And it's actually progressing more and more. And a lot of that is not directly to the artist. The artists right now, the lowest minimum wage that they get is $9.43, according to the Labor Bureau statistics, and that starts out like $22,000 a year. And then, you know, the most that artists are getting paid according to the Labor Bureau statistics is about $65,000. Meanwhile, $69.1 billion is being paid.
Right.
Artists are not benefiting from their work; everybody else is.
Yeah.
So that's part of this, is educating everybody else. So go directly to the artists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the hardest job I've ever had. I have worked for IBM, UPS, ADP, and I worked with multi-million-dollar clients.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard.
Yeah.
You got to produce the art, you got to talk about the art, you got to bring people in. It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, but it's also the most rewarding.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I look forward to working every day. I look forward to getting to talk unique opportunities like this. This is really cool.
Yeah, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
So this is a networking event, and we all want to make connections and meet different people. So who is it that you are most interested in meeting and making a connection with, a particular person, a particular company, or an ideal client community that you want to connect with? Who is it you most want to make some valuable, important connections with?
Yeah, okay, great. So I'm actually scheduling events for next year. So next year, within the Positive Painter community, that's what we're called, Positive Painters, we have guest speakers for lunch and learns every 6 weeks, every 7 weeks, actually, every 7 weeks. And that's what Vicki came in and talked to us about marketing. And, it was really good conversation.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I'm lining up speakers for next year. And one of the aspects, many of the aspects that I want is somebody in finance to come and actually talk about, how to prepare for either finance or accounting, how to prepare for retirement. Because I can guarantee you, not a single artist is thinking about that. Not a single artist knows about UKs. And then I would like somebody else to come in and talk about cyber insurance or business insurance, something that artists don't necessarily think about, that sometimes is required for the art fairs, why they need it, how they would use it, what would benefit them. So I've got 7 slots for next year, about 3 to be business related, and then I'm going to bring in 4 other different types of artists, because like I said, there's so many different ways. In the lettering, like all those letters back there, an artist actually came up with those.
Yeah.
So there's lettering artists.
Yeah.
And, so if you know an artist that specializes in something unique, like making their own pigments, whatever.
Yeah.
Like bring them in, because it exposes people to new arts.
So how can people get in touch with you, find out about what you're doing, follow you, go to a showing that you're doing? How can we, what's the contact details?
Okay, so we have StephanieWeaverArtist.com, and you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram at Stephanie Weaver Artist. YouTube, I'm Art for Paws, because art's like furry little animal. I just haven't never changed that. So as far as events, every Saturday, I think up until November, unless it rains, I'm down in Providence. I'm selling my pet portraits, I'm talking about wheel painting classes, I'm talking about all this stuff. And I'm actually painting live because it's fun. And so I'll be down there. You can come see the Providence every Saturday from 8 till 2. And
It says a lot about the quality of your work, because to have somebody watching me what I'm doing while I'm doing that, wow, that's intimidating for me. But that means that you are very good at what you do, because you sit out there and you do your art and do your thing in front of everybody, and people can come and watch. That's cool.
yeah, it was funny. Like a couple weeks ago, there was a band there, and they were just like watching me paint. They were like, this is like watching Bob Ross. And then a guy would walk by with his dog. Hey, you need to have your dog painted by her over there. And it was fun. And that painting, I'm actually just making up.
Yeah.
A lot of with the pet portraits and stuff, I just work from images. But that one, when somebody was coming up behind me, oftentimes I didn't know, because that's a totally different process.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Making things
I will
up.
say I can imagine, because no, I can't. But
Well, you get hyper focus.
yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be down in Providence next year in 2023 from November to I think February. I'm gonna have a one-woman show at Low Mill with about 35 pieces. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. Low Mill just makes me smile. Just going through there, just seeing all the different creative outlets and artistry in so many different disciplines there. It's just a fun place to be.
And Washington, because they're all working studios, so if you go in the Little Mill and you see their studios, generally they're a hot mess, but that's because they're working studios, and a lot of creatives, we are not neat freaks. So,
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I've enjoyed this conversation. I've learned a lot about art and being a small business owner and art world, and the way you're marrying the two. I did not know that you had that background in business, and that this was a creative outlet that turned into an actual profession for you. And you're making an impact in the community and helping artists become better and more efficient business owners. And I think that you're going to have a big impact on the community and helping artists. I have a heart for small business. I want to see small businesses succeed, and it just makes me smile to think about the things that you're doing to help the artist community, because art is important. We need art. That's one of the things that I have always been a proponent of. I used to teach music classes. Art and music go hand in hand, and it helps the mood, it helps the soul. It just makes the sun shine brighter every day. So thank you for being here, and I've enjoyed our conversation, and we'll send everybody some information so that they can get in contact with Stephanie and check out her artwork. Go to Facebook, a lot of her artwork is on our Facebook page, which I was distracted as I was preparing for this because I was looking at all the artwork, but thank you so much for being here today, and I've truly, truly enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you for having me. All right.